You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account, from NVDA to VIX and everything in between. If it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, it is time for your Hot Options Report for Friday, November 21st, coming at you at the tail end of a hot week. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as from the network upon which so many of you are listening these days. Remember, at the top of the show, if you're not listening to the full network, wherever you get your favorite podcast, make sure you're doing just that. And then, of course, if you want to join us for the pro, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Just got off Options Oddities, another wild one to wrap up the week. Theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to get access to all of that fun. And you know where to go to get access to all of the data for this show and a whole heck of a lot more. We're really just scratching the surface of it. TheHotOptionsReport.com. You know it because it's the name of the show. We made it a URL. It's all there for you. You can't beat the price. It's free right now. And check it out. It's going to beat what a lot of your brokers are bringing to the table from an options analytics perspective and data perspective. So check it out. TheHotOptionsReport.com to learn more as we learn what's going on in the vol space today, listeners. We had a day where the markets mostly settled into green mode today after yesterday, an aggressive day of whipsawing pretty much across the board. The markets mostly closing in the green, and VIX coming back to earth a little bit, closing 2343, which is almost exactly 3 points below where it closed yesterday, 2.99 points to be precise. VIX putting up some numbers today, though, 1.33 million. It's another hot day. The ADV is getting close to 1 million, 991,000 contracts. People have a lot of different indicators for when the market's looking kind of wild. For me, when the VIX ADV is threatening 1 million contracts, things are kind of wild in the market, listeners. The hot option on a hot day in VIX land today, 205,000 of the D's 30s going up for $1.51. Looks like it's part of that D's 25-30 vertical that has been trading pretty much all week long and continued to trade today nearly 200,000 times. All right, out to SPY we go, listeners. Again, SPY and the S and all the major indices having a pretty good day out there today, closing up exactly 1%, closing 659.03 today, listeners. Putting up 12.1 million contracts, so another banger day. Not quite the record that it hit yesterday, but a banger day out there. The ADV is up to north of 10 million, 10.2 million. So volume explosive in SPY right now. The hot option on a very hot day, 381,000 of these 660 calls. Average price for these about $1.41, listeners. As we keep on rolling out to the S, the same deal, up about 1%, closing 66.0299 to be precise out there, putting up 5.12 million. So again, a heavy day. The ADV is right around 4.5. And the hot option on a hot day in the S, 112,000 of these 66 half calls, 6650 calls, listeners. Average price for these, not giving away, $5.38. So once again, we have a case of getting a little optimistic maybe if you bought these and rode them into the close. Unfortunately, not exactly a happy camper. As we keep on rolling out the small caps continue to deliver the hits and deliver the volume. IWM closing 235.60, up nearly 3%, about 2.8% today, putting up 2.55 million contracts against an ADV of 1.9 million. Maybe that's another good barometer. When small caps are averaging nearly 2 million contracts a day, things are kind of wild in the market. The hot option out there today, listeners, 114,000. Back to the downside we go, but a 0-day downside. It's the 230 puts expiring today. Average price for these, 62 cents. Once again, if you bought these, not looking great, but it looks like this could have been closing paper, in which case maybe they decided to live to fight another day as we keep on rolling out to the Qs, listeners. The Qs closing up about 0.2%. So Qs a rare day where they're playing the laggard role, closing 590.07, listeners, putting up 6.51 million contracts against an ADV of 5.65. So a pretty hot day out there as well. The hot option on a hot day, 229,000. Of the 595 calls, average price for these, about 89 cents. This was opening paper. You had some opportunities intraday to get rid of these. Hopefully they did, if they wrote them into the close. Not the best do as we keep on rolling out to the single names, listeners. Was it a hot day out there in single name equity land? The answer was yes, most decidedly yes. 936,000 contracts. That's the hottest we've seen in quite some time. That gets us to our old pal strategy, aka the monster, looking decidedly less scary these days. Closing today, 170.5, down 6 2/3 or 3 3/4%. You know what's going on. They've been coming for Bitcoin, and as a result, they are coming for the monster. But putting up 936,000 contracts, that is nothing to sneeze at. The hot option on a nearly 1 million contract day for the monster, 35,000 of the par calls expiring next week. So once again, hope springing eternal. This is opening paper to the upside. $1.26 is the average price for these. So they're not giving these away. You need quite the recovery in the monster if you're going to buy these next week, listeners. We'll keep an eye on it as we'll keep on rolling out to number 9, the Amazonians. Amazon popping today about $3.50 or about 1.6%, closing 220.69, putting up 959,000 contracts. For the number 9 spot, the hot option out there, nearly 63,000 of the 220s expiring today. Average price for these, about 75 cents. So if you bought these, wrote them into the close, you pretty much scratched. So not the worst trade at the end of the day. You didn't make money, but you didn't lose a ton either. As we keep on rolling to number 8, the Fruit Company. Apple closing today, popping hard, up $5, over $5. About 5 1/4, nearly 2%, 271.49 is where the Fruit Company went out today, putting up 1.16 million contracts. So again, a spicy day out there. The hot option on a spicy day, 82,000 of the 275s. That's quite a move they were pricing in there. Average price for these, though, about a nickel. So they didn't pay a ton for these. That's pretty much the only upside. The stock never got that high, 273 1/3. So you never really had your chance to do anything with these. As we keep on rolling to our old pal Palantir, listeners. Was it another wild day in Palantir? The answer was yes. Actually, with the rest of the market rallying, Palantir continuing to give up the ghost, selling off nearly a full dollar, about 90 cents or a little over 0.5%, closing 154.85, putting up nearly 1.2 million contracts. So a very active day. The hot option, 78, almost 79,000 of the 155s. Average price for these about $1.50. So they're not giving these away. Luckily for you, if you bought these, they did get there. 158.11 was the high out there. So you had some opportunities to sell them for roughly double your money if you were quick on the trigger finger. As we keep on rolling to number 6, our old pal Alphabet Class A, rallying today 3.5% or about $10.25, closing just a few ticks below 300, about 299.66 is where it went out, putting up about 1.25 million contracts. And the hot option out there today, 110,000 of the pars, the 300s. Average price for these, $1.39. Now you had your chance. The stock got up to nearly 304 today, so you had your chance to get out of these for over 2x. Again, if you were quick on the trigger finger. As we keep on rolling to number 5, AMD. AMD giving up the ghost again today, off about 2.25, a little over 1%, closing 203.78, listeners, putting up 1.35 million contracts. The hot option out there today, 116,000 of the par puts, the 200 puts expiring today. Average price for these, about $1.90, listeners, and the low level today was actually 195. So once again, if you bought these and you were quick on the trigger finger, you had a chance to get the heck out of Dodge for a pretty decent level. As we keep on rolling to number 4, our old pal, the Wolf, aka Wolf Speed. Wolf Speed closing $17.18, off about 16 cents or nearly 1% today, putting up 1.55 million contracts out there. The hot option today, once again, getting to that far out of the money paper. There are 345,000 of the one puts expiring today. As we keep on rolling to number 3, listeners, it's Tesla, 391.09. That's where the stock went out today, selling off another about $4 or about 1%, putting up nearly 4 million contracts, 3.93 million. So another very active day in Tesla. The hot option out there today, 234,000 of the par calls. Once again, hope springs eternal, the 400 calls. Average price for these, nearly $2. And you had some moments in the sun. The high today was 402.80. So once again, if you bought these, you could have done all right. If you sold them, you had to grit your teeth a little bit, but you still did pretty well there as well. As we keep on rolling to number 2, our old pal Open, fighting its way back onto the list. Open today closing 675, up about 60 cents or nearly 10% today. So a good little pop for them. Putting up, my goodness, nearly 6 million contracts today, 5.7 million. That is absolutely wild paper out there today, listeners. Open doing 12 times its ADV today, listeners. Again, take this one with a pretty big grain of salt. The big print out there today, 1.09 million of the 2 calls expiring today. Average price for these, $5.01. You got to be careful. These are the Open 1 ticker, listeners. So there's a little bit of ticker skullduggery going on here, which is driving some of this flow. But Open, these are just wild numbers, listeners, but not enough for the top spot today. Takes a lot to kick the king to the curb. NVDA retains the throne. 6.37 million contracts for the number 1 spot, listeners. NVIDIA closing down almost 1%, about 176, closing 178.88, listeners. The hot option on a pretty hot day out there, 411,000 of the 182 half calls. Average price for these, about 74 cents. And once again, you did have an opportunity, if you bought these, to get out intraday for a much better level. Listen, it had to be quick, though. It didn't last too long. And if you sold them, you had to sweat a bit, but you could have done all right as well. All right, that is going to do it for us on your hot options report for an absolutely wild week out there in the markets. Remember, if you missed anything that's hitting the network this week, make sure you subscribe to the full Options Insider Radio Network, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And of course, if you want to check out all the data we didn't have time to get to on the show, and there's a ton this week, thehotoptionsreport.com is the place to go. We have to get on out of here. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you back here on Monday, another episode of the Hot Options Report. Oh, yeah. And stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.